Hello and welcome to another episode of the Gold Country Media Sports Jam. And I want to take a moment on this one because there's a special thing going on today, guys. This podcast is a Blackhawks, Sharks, and Flyers fan is officially the Connor Bedard sweepstakes tonight. I mean, I don't want to brag. I do think my team has the best chance of getting him. That being said, I don't think he's going to Chicago. But I mean, we're enemies for the next 8 hours, I think, while we're
Yep.
waiting for our generational guy to come save our hockey teams.
Hey. Yeah, we might have blown it by getting too many points in the last 5-6 games of the season, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Matt, how do you feel about your chances?
To be honest with you, I don't know who you're talking about. So,
I know.
He's the number one draft prospect in the NHL this year.
Hey, what the Flyers had to be close to the Blackhawks. I mean, they had to be close, right? I mean,
yeah, I think you guys have like the sixth best odds or something.
all right, well, that's
But
better.
I mean, this
Seven.
kid's supposed to be, the next Austin Matthews. But then again, I feel like they say that about every, stud in the draft. It's like, yeah, if you're the number one overall pick, you probably should end up pretty good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I did see there's a Sharks fan that bought like a custom authentic jersey with the dude's name on it. And I'm like, that's a bold move, man. That's like touching the conference championship trophy before the Stanley Cup. Like
That's almost as bad as the Eagles fan who tattooed the Super Bowl trophy on their arm before they even played the game and then they lost.
the tattoo was probably cheaper at least.
That's true.
And Matt, it's okay. We know you got the tattoo removed. So. Oh no, you're a Steelers guy. You're not an Eagles guy.
It went over well.
But anyway, we've had a big week of sports. The baseball playoff brackets are out. We had some crazy playoff races go right down to the wire. I mean, I know it's not in our area, but if you told me at the beginning of the year that Jesuit and Elk Grove were playing in a game for playoff implications, I wouldn't have guessed that it would be to see who gets in. I mean, crazy stuff there. Softball's coming down to the wire. We've had some league stuff in some other sports. Volleyball playoffs, tennis playoffs, all that's in full swing. Tracks down to the section championships now. So a big show coming up. But, first I'll start with just how's everyone's weekend?
Fine. Yeah, just done a lot of work. Try to get as much work as I could done this weekend, so I'd have the day to myself. And the reason for that is you mentioned at the beginning of the show that it's a special day, and it is. It's my mom's birthday today, so happy birthday to her. And I always spend most of the day with my folks after we do the show. But yeah, besides that, watch the Warriors play a god awful game against the Lakers and lose by 30 points. Watch some baseball. Yeah, it was fine.
I like it. Matt, how about you? What'd you do this weekend?
Saturday had a derby party, so that was fun.
Did your horse win?
My horse did not win, no.
Yeah.
No, my two horses. Each year I pick two horses, and my horses were near the back of the. The odds to win were 28-1 and 30-1, so they were near the back of the back. But
Okay,
I
so
just
you play high risk, high reward.
well, I go by names. So I like those names. I just like the names. So
All right.
they didn't win, but it was a good time, and didn't do much yesterday. But
Like
sorry, one day out of two is enough for me.
Exactly. I hit a concert over at Thunder Valley this weekend, and I got to watch my fantasy baseball team blow a 30-point lead on Sunday because I got a pitcher loss, a blown save, and then the guy I was playing against, his entire team went off. He his skill position guys averaged like 8 points, so that was a fun little heartbreak. And now I'm reaping the
Man, we all had a rough weekend in sports, didn't we?
now I'm reaping the smack talk that I did earlier in the week when I thought the game was in the bag. But hey, you got to give what you take and all that. But it's been a big week of sports. Aaron, I guess we'll kind of start with you. Where were you out last week? What did you see from your games?
Yep. On Monday of last week, I was at a couple of places. First, drove over to River Oaks Golf Club in Nicholas to see the CVC Championships for boys golf. Wood Creek captured its first league title in school history, beating out Roseville. The Timberwolves were led by Ethan Allred with the low score of the day, which was a 1 under 70, the lone under par round of the day out there, and that was less than a week after he got out of his walking boot. He was actually playing a few matches in a walking boot. Said he wasn't able to really get out full power with his driver because he missed a few matches in the beginning of the season, but he looked great. He played well. I watched him on par five, hit a driver wayward in the left rough, hit a perfect iron onto the green, and make about an 8 foot putt for eagle. So that was huge there. And then Grant Burback from Roseville was named the MVP of the league. I believe he shot a 1 over 72. So looking forward to seeing how they and people from other leagues do today at the divisional tournaments. And then next week, of course, will be the Masters tournaments down in Stockton. So that was the first part of my day Monday. After that, I took a little 30-minute drive over to Mahaney Park to watch Wood Creek softball face St. Francis. It was a full 7 inning game, and it was over in 90 minutes. It was a pitcher's duel, and St. Francis won 2-1. For Wood Creek, Malia Lawson hit a triple, and then on the mounds, sophomore Sydney Wilkins had a really solid performance, only giving up 2 runs in a complete game. I believe she struck out 5. What it came down to is Wood Creek had 2 costly errors, and I believe it was the 5th inning. It might have even been the 6th, which really kind of cost them the game. They had a costly loss to Antelope on Thursday as well, so they need to be Indercom today in a game that will actually be continued from last Tuesday because of the rain, how it canceled stuff early. If Wood Creek is to win the CVC, so Wood Creek in that game right now is currently up 3-0 in the third. So we'll see if they can pull that out later today. Speaking of Tuesday and the crazy rain, on Tuesday, I was at Timber Creek Golf Course for the SFL Championships for boys golf, taking photos and watching multiple groups. It was a shotgun start. Groups were able to get about 14, 15 holes in, and then all of a sudden, it just starts downpouring. If you guys were covering anything on Tuesday, I'm sure you guys saw it as well, because I think it was raining all over the area. But it was just raining crazy. About 10 minutes after, it goes away for about 5 minutes, and then it picks up, and you start hearing thunder. So, we had to bring all the kids back in. And we get back to the Timbers restaurant right as we're walking in, and I mean the wind is just howling, the rain is just going crazy. You hear the thunder. It was wild for sure. I've played the game of golf all 4 years in high school. I've watched it now for 4+ years. I've never seen weather like that bad. So that was interesting. There was a 40-minute delay. They got back out to finish. Granite Bay won the tournament, but Rockland actually won the SFL title as they were undefeated in 9-hole matches this season, and they won the first 18-hole tournament earlier this season as well. Del Oro will also advance as a team for beating out the 400 score to make it on to the divisionals. Whitney has 3 golfers also advancing to divisionals.
All right, I like it. Yeah, the rain was rough. I've got a fun story on that for you, but we'll save that for my recap. Matt, let's go over to you. Where were you at for the first half of the week?
Monday, I was at Whitney for Oak Ridge against Whitney in the boys baseball. The game, if Whitney won, they would win the league, and if Oak Ridge won, they'd push it to Wednesday's game. But Whitney won this one in 9 innings in a walk-off. It was obviously an exciting game. Top of the ninth, Whitney leadoff hitter Jazz Jimenez, who was 0 for 4 at that point, hit a dying line drive to right field. It bounced in front of Oak Ridge right fielder Ryan Spear and bounced over his head and went all the way far enough for Jimenez to have a leadoff triple to win the game. To essentially win the game. Next batter struck out. Oak Ridge intentionally walks the next batter to get to GH Jonathan Vavik, and he hit a walk-off 3-run homer to win the title. So Oak Ridge beat them the next 2 games, so they only finished a game behind them in the schedule, but they got the 8th seed in the Division I playoffs, so that kind of hurt. I don't know what Todd Melton thinks of that. I asked him, but I haven't heard back from him yet. But I think Oak Ridge probably deserves better than the 8th seed. But
yeah, I was a little surprised by that seeding too.
Yeah. They play a tough. They play. I would put their schedule up against anyone's schedule. So they never have a really great win-loss record, but they play the toughest schedule out there. So they deserve better than that. But anyway, Tuesday I was at Granite Bay for softball, Folsom against Granite Bay. They got an inning and a half in before the rain came, and they, that washed that game out. So I went over to Folsom to watch volleyball, first round of the playoffs. Folsom High, number 3 seed in Division One, Pittman, number 14 seed. It went as expected. Folsom won easily, 25-8, 25-20, 25-15. Coach wasn't really happy with that second game, but that stuff happens when you're playing a team that you're just so much better than. It's tough to sit on top of that. But did the same Thursday night. Folsom came back against Laguna Creek, won 3 games, 27-25, 25-17, 25-22, which puts them in the semifinals tomorrow night at Whitney. And this is going to be a great game because they played Folsom played Whitney at home for starters, lost 3-0. But listen to the scores of these games: 27-25, 28-26, 25-18. Whitney pulled it out. They played a few weeks later in the tournament. Folsom lost 2 games, 31-29, 26-24. They played 3 days later, Folsom at Whitney. Folsom won. These games weren't, they were close, but 25-20, Whitney won game 1, but then Folsom won 3 straight, 25-19, 25-20, 25-18. So I don't know. I predict somebody in 5 tomorrow. I don't know who. It's going to be a crazy game.
All right.
And then I was going to just go do Wednesday here. Wednesday, I went to Christian Brothers, watched them play Vista baseball. Christian Brothers, who went on to win the league title, by the way. They won this game 3-1. The Eagles just had trouble scoring this year in Cal play versus the 3 teams that finished ahead of them, which was Christian Brothers, Rio Americano, and Del Campo. They went 1-8 against those three teams, and they scored 3 runs 3 times and lost all 3 games. So they needed to score at least 4 more runs, and they just couldn't do it. They are the 10th seed and will play 7th seed Vannon in the first round of the playoffs Tuesday.
All right, I like it. And I know we'll talk more when we get into the brackets, but one little tidbit that I thought was interesting is Oak Ridge is the 8th seed, Franklin's the 1 seed. You don't want to look ahead to the second round, but Oak Ridge beat Franklin 9-1 earlier this year. That shows how deep that D1 bracket is, but we'll get there and when we talk playoff brackets. Tuesday, I started out with some high school soccer. Division 7 girls soccer playoffs are underway. Forest Hill won its league for the first time, and they ended up hosting Western Sierra. It took 4 minutes for Forest Hill to get on the board in this one. Amy Saxelby scored to put the Wildfires on top. And then it took 4 more minutes for them to build it to a 2-0 lead as Alexis Cobb placed a shot off a corner kick just perfectly right above the goalie's gloves and right below the crossbar to make it 2-0. So, that's a pretty good confidence boost when 8 minutes into the playoff game, you're winning 2-0. And if you want to talk weather in this game, when I pulled up to Forest Hill, it was almost snowing. Like it was that it wasn't sleet, but what was that weird thing that KCRA thing was talking about a few
Grapple.
Yeah. It was like an icy rain,
that word.
And then it turned into hail about that big falling on us. The wind was insane. It was dumping rain to the point that I actually hung out in the press box for almost the entire pregame because I didn't want to go outside. And then for the majority of the game, it was actually beautiful. The clouds kind of broke up a little bit, and you could see the sunset over the ridge and everything. It was, if you haven't been to Forest Hills campus or that football stadium, they get great sunsets there. And the way it broke up, it was, I guess all the bad weather got out of the way right before kickoff. But Forest Hill ended up hanging on in this one 4-1. Saxelby scored another goal in the I believe it was the 60th minute, and then the Wildfires brought it home with one more in that. And it was Forest Hill's 3rd win over the Wolves this season. Western Sierra did get one late. It was by, their roster was not online, but it was by, if you're watching, a shout out to number 5 on Western Sierra because you are the one that scored. One of the most impressive performances to me was Saxelby. She was getting double and triple teamed a lot of times by the Wolves, but that didn't keep her from, staying aggressive. She said she's kind of used to it, but she's only a freshman. It's interesting because she's a freshman on this team, but she's the only one with club experience. So in a way, even as a freshman, she's kind of the leader on this team right now. She's already tied for most goals on the team. So it's just, an interesting interesting dynamic with her being a leader on that team. So shout out to Forest Hill. They ended up beating John Adams Academy 1-0 in the semifinals. They were supposed to host the section championship against Delta on Saturday. It got moved to tonight, and then it got moved again to tomorrow. So hopefully that's the last time it moves, and we're all done with that. And then Wednesday, I was at a baseball doubleheader. It started with Granite Bay and Del Oro. Granite Bay won game 1 of this series. The series going in, both these teams were tied for the last playoff spot in the SFL. Basically, winner of this series goes to the playoffs, loser is out. Granite Bay wins game 1 9-5, and listen to the ending of this one. Del Oro trailed 2-0 in the 7th inning and had runners on the corners with nobody out. And Del Oro's Robert Garcia smacks a beautiful line drive that looks like it's going right up the middle. Everyone in both dugouts, every fan there thinks that thing is going into the gap, and it is scoring 1 for sure, if not 2. Instead, Granite Bay's Bryce Bentley leaps up, grabs this line drive out of the air, turns in one swift motion to first, and doubles up the runner on first, holding the runner at third. So now it's 2-0 with a guy on third and 2 outs, and Del Oro grounds out the next at bat to end the game. I mean, that's one that I truly think I genuinely think if this play doesn't happen, Del Oro at the very least ties this game on that play and probably goes on to win this, making Friday's game huge. Instead, Bentley makes a play of the game. It's cool for him to do that on his senior night as well. So Granite Bay ends up sealing that playoff spot with a win. Del Oro did take game 3, so they still only finished 1 game above, but GB gets the playoffs, and Del Oro is going to be watching from home. And then that night, I made it up to James Field up in Auburn for another great game, and that was Placer and Oakmont. In the 8th inning, junior Aiden Gale, he's only had 12 hits this season, but he gets a pinch hit call in the 8th inning and ends up hitting a walk-off single that scored the runner from second. The play was close at the plate. I asked Placer's coach, were you planning on sending him no matter what? And he said, yeah, we wanted to get out of here. We were sending him no matter what. So Placer gets a 3-2 win there. Oakmont did win the next 2 games of the series. They actually got a higher seed than Placer because they won this series, but it was for the 2 and the 3 seed. So, it's not like you're really playing for a ton. You're still, hopefully, if everything goes right, going to be meeting in a 3-game series in a couple weeks. So, good one for them. Placer ace Cam Staten didn't get a winning decision, but he had 13 strikeouts in 7 innings, bringing his season total up to 93, which at the time was tied for the most in the section. I have to check it now, see if anything changed. Hayden Bailey earned the win for Placer in relief. He pitched the 8th inning, and he only allowed 1 hit, and he scored the winning run. So pretty good performance there for him. And yeah, so that was kind of the first half of my week. Aaron, let's kick it back over to you for the second half of the week. Where were you at?
There we go. I had to get caught up where I was on my notes. Thursday, I was back at Wood Creek once again, this time for baseball against Roseville. And I didn't know if there was going to be any games going on. I had a couple backup plans in case, this game ended up getting postponed because there was actually rain Thursday as well. I know, rain in May, it's crazy. But Wood Creek was out there. The entire team was basically working as the grounds crew to get the field game ready. And they ended up playing the game. There were a lot of runs early as the Timberwolves led 4-3 in the second, but they opened it up with a 3-run fourth off of hits by Ty Hennessy, Dylan Green, and Connor Barth. Hennessy, in my opinion, was the player of the game. He also stole 3 bases, made a huge catch in right field to save a run as the Timberwolves went on to capture the outright league title. Had Roseville won that game and then gone on to win on Friday, they would have been co-league champions, but Wood Creek locked it up on the Thursday. They are the 3 seed in Division II. They'll be hungry in the postseason, especially after an early exit last year as the number 1 seed. So interested to see how far they can go. Roseville is going to be the 6th seed in Division III. I'll get into all those predictions and the brackets in a little bit. But on Friday, I was also at another more baseball. It was a double header for baseball between West Park and Lincoln. I was there to announce that. Had West Park won both of these games, they actually would have made the playoffs. And they were up 5-3 in the bottom of the fifth of game one. But the Zebras had a 4-run fifth and a 6-run sixth to win the game 13-6. I believe there was 4 homers in the game by the Zebras. I believe 3 came in the 5th and the 6th inning. There was a solo home run by Jackson Cook, a 2-run homer by Andrew Wasilchuk, and a solo home run by Jake Redding. Actually, I'm missing one as well. There was a grand slam by Kenny Winters. How can I forget about that? Grand slam. That's the first time I've seen that this year. Zebras hit 2 more homers in game 2, a 3-run shot by Redding and a solo shot by Cook in the exact same spot he hit at the center in the first game to win 9-0 in game 2. So Pondo wins the league. And listen to this. We've been talking about how close the FVL is all year. So Ponderosa won the league. Oakmont second at 8-7 because they own the tiebreaker over Lincoln and Placer for winning 2 out of 3 against both teams. Lincoln's third at 8-7, owning the tiebreaker over Placer by beating them 2 out of 3. And then Placer's fourth at 8-7. And so they went from literally having a chance to win the league title in the beginning of the week last week to being fourth at the end of the week. That's how crazy the FBL is. So yeah, that was
one
baseball.
game back from first. I mean, that's
exactly. I mean, it's insane. So yeah, that's pretty much the rest of my week right there.
All right, Matt, how about you? What was the second half of your week like?
Well, Thursday I went up to Oak Ridge to see them play Rockland in softball. This was an exciting game. It was my first time seeing Rockland. They hit the ball well against Oak Ridge. They took a 7-6 lead in the top of the 6th, and they scored runs in 5 of the 6 innings. So they were hitting Oak Ridge's pitcher good. But Oak Ridge scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 6th to win it. Jessica Zeleny and Emery Glaser, their number 1-2 hitters, hit back-to-back doubles to tie the game at 7. And then Glazer later scored a sac fly by Sam Alekman to give the Trojans 8-7 win. But it was a good game in Rockland. I mean, I know they're battling for a playoff spot here, but from what I saw in that game, I mean, Oak Ridge finished third in the league, and they had Oak Ridge on the rope. So I don't know what's going to happen between them and Folsom, but they have a good shot. And then after that, I went right over to the football field to watch the lacrosse team play Vista in a quarterfinal game. The outcome of this game was known. Oak Ridge beat Vista 17-0. They played them 2 weeks before, so they're not gonna overcome a 17-goal difference in 2 weeks. We're not gonna figure out what to do that quickly. Oak Ridge won this one 16-1. They had their foot off the gas pedal too. So, but anyway, so Vista now advances to the semis against Amador Valley, which is Tuesday. It's a team they feel they should beat because they want to win the championship, and to win the championship, they're going to have to beat them. And then Vista boys, they also advanced to the semifinals against De La Salle, and that's who knocked them out last year. So it's a rematch for last year's game when they lost 9-8 in the semis. That game should be a good one, and that's tomorrow night as well. Friday, I went to Vista softball against Capital Christian. Capital Christian is a good team. They're 7-1 in the league going into or 7-8-1 in the league going into this game. But Vista scored 3 runs in the first, 5 runs in the second. We're up 8-0 and hammered them 11-3. Vista with this win wrapped up the Cal 11-0 record. Charlize Kai 3 for 4, 2 runs, an RBI. Annabella Hess 2 for 4, an RBI. Emily Dossie 2 for 3, 2 runs, 3 RBIs. Olivia Manchester 2 out of 5, 1 run, 2 RBIs. And then Friday night, Vista had an athletic signing. I was not there, but I just want to give a shout out to these 13 kids. I mean, kids really quickly who signed scholarships or accepted scholarships to move on. Parker Cliff is headed to University of Georgia on an equestrian scholarship. Sam Hutchinson, Carroll College football. Maxwell Gunter, William Jessup golf. Reese Sato, Cal Poly golf. Megan Pericles, CSU Northridge golf. Christine Yu, Claremont McKenna College golf. RJ Wyrick, Virginia Military Institute lacrosse. Renee Davis, San Francisco State University soccer. Olivia Manchester, Canisius College softball. Michaela Mentzer, Menlo College softball. Allison Morrissey, Dakota State College softball. I don't know how to pronounce this name. Emily Claus, Darby, I'm not sure, Cal Poly Swimming, and Kaya Fanchier, Cal State Bakersfield. So kudos to those 13 Vista athletes who are headed on to bigger and brighter things.
All right, I like it. Yeah, I mean, this is, that special time of year where kids are signing those deals, and it's kind of funny because I feel like we always get these, oh, hey, you're signing with this school, and I feel like you kind of forget about it until that signing day comes around. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot that's a thing that's happening. So shout out to them. So go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, Vista, schools do it differently. Some have signing days on the actual signing days. Vista kind of waits till all the signings are done and they get them all together for one. So, a lot of these
I
kids.
like that. I kind of like that. Celebrate everyone.
Okay.
But so last week, I mean, it was the second half of the week, the rain hit, so we kind of had some stuff get rained out. Like I said, I mentioned Forest Hill winning that game Thursday. I did want to give a shout out too to Placer Boys Golf, a team that did win their league. They ended up winning the FEL championship. They shot 395 at the Ridge on Monday to clinch the league title. West Park placed second with a 414. Placer had 4 golfers shooting 80 or below. Ben Manley and Nate Roche each shot a 77. So hey, shout out to the Hillmen. They're playing at Copper Valley Golf Course in Copperopolis today for the D3 championship. The head coach Greg French, he says, I think we're up there. He's like, Central Catholic will be tough, Vista Del Lago will be tough, but hey, we're in that running. So shout out to them. The only game I was physically out for the second half of the week was a very rainy game between Colfax and Marysville. So a little I guess background for this game. Colfax had come in already clinching a share of the league title. So they're already winning the PVL no matter what. It's just, are you going to be a co-champion or an outright champion? Marysville already has playoff spot locked up, already locked up into third in the league. Nothing can really change by them except maybe you move up a seed line with a win. This game, it was dumping the entire time. They were basically putting out diamond dry on the pitcher's mound and next to the bases after almost every inning. They were going through balls like crazy. But here's the deal. This game, because it's a league game, had to get in. Marysville had games, I believe, on Friday and Saturday. So it was kind of one of those where they're like, we're playing. Like, we got to find a way. So it was, you're expecting, hey, in the 40s, raining the whole game. Like, this is going to be a low-scoring game, right? No, 9 combined runs in the first 2 innings. Because why not? Including 2 home runs. Because, again, why not? So Colfax came out, takes a 1-0 lead early. And what's funny is both coaches were expecting the umpires to call this game after 5 innings, no matter what. So they were both like, we need to score early and we need to score often to make sure we have the lead after 5 innings. Turns out this game was tied after 5 innings, so it ended up going the distance. But Colfax takes a 1-0 lead early, and then Marysville comes out and puts a 4 spot up in the top of the second inning, highlighted by a 3-run homer by Stevie Cherry. And I was thinking, oh, that's not good. Colfax hasn't really faced adversity yet in a long time. So I guess this kind of comes at a good time right before the playoffs to, hey, find out what you're made of, have a little bit of a challenge. And Colfax rose to that occasion. They put up a 4 spot in the bottom of the second inning, including a 2-run home run by Marcus Mader. I'll have more on him when we talk about our athletes of the week. So Colfax hanging on to a 5-4 lead for a while, but the Indians tied the score in the 5th, and then Wyatt Lococo put them on top with a 2 RBI single in the 6th inning. The Falcons stranded the tying run on base in the 7th inning. They let it off with 2 singles, but Marysville turned a timely double play. They actually let off the 6th inning with 2 singles too, but Marysville turned an interesting double play. They caught a fly ball, and Colfax's Gabe Garcia tagged up to go to third. I will admit, I was not watching the runner, as I never do in that situation. I watch him after he leaves the base, but I'm looking at where the ball's going, and if the guy catches it, I'm not looking at the base. And like 2 minutes after, they get kind of settled, the new batter's getting ready to step in, and Marysville throws over to second, and he's called out. And everyone's like, losing it. And I always say, I've seen appeals a million times. And I'll say this, I was surprised Marysville appealed because it just felt kind of late for one. I was even more surprised that he was called out. And the reason isn't because I didn't know, I thought he was on or left in time or anything like that. It's more so that I've seen high school teams appeal a million times in situations where they're almost desperate for an out. And I don't think I've ever seen one be successful. But if there's a program that should know about guys touching bases when they're supposed to, it's Marysville, because they lost a section championship after hitting a walk-off home run and their player not touching first base as he rounded it. So, I mean, and I talked to a Colfax coach and I said, do you think he left early? And he goes, he did. So no controversy there, but, heads up, checking that by Marysville, and a good job there, but that's got to kill Colfax, because that's an out that probably would have turned into a run and you would have been going to extra innings. And that Marysville ends up hanging on to win the game 7-6. But what's interesting is, what was that?
I had a question just
Yeah.
about that call. Do you have a problem with that call being made at all? Like, even like, I
if
guess
he
you
left
could say,
early, he left early. I mean, that's
okay. So if he left early, you're fine with it.
Yeah, if he left early, I'm fine with it. I do think maybe they should put like a limit on when you can do the appeal, like you have 30 seconds to make it or something like that. But I mean, that being said, they hadn't thrown another pitch yet and he left early. So in my opinion, I'm
Okay. I asked because at the Oak Ridge Rockland softball game, Rockland had a shot to come back in the top of the seventh, and they had the first two runners on base, first and second. Line drive to the shortstop. She leaps high in the air, catches it, throws to first to double the girl off, and Rockland's first base coach lost it. I mean, he said, "It's not about you." He screamed at the referee and our umpire. It's not about you. Everyone, clear as day, everyone could hear it. And he, so I'm thinking, so what if they're out, or if there's just is the umpire supposed to call it out or safe because it's not about him?
right. I mean, no, it's kind of like, I look at it almost like the way the Super Bowl ended this year, where it's like, look, that that penalty at the end, it was pass interference. You got to throw that flag, but it's just like an anticlimactic way for a great game to be decided. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's like, well, you did leave early. So yeah. I don't have a problem with it. At the moment, I thought it was an iffy call, but I talked to a few coaches and they were like, no, he left early. And, I could kind of tell in the moment too, like the lack of reaction from the Colfax coaches, it was almost more, or the reaction was almost more like, I can't believe that just happened, not furious at the call, which kind of told me in the moment, like, I think he left early. And I don't think a ref or an umpire is going to call them leaving early unless it's incredibly obvious that they left early or they didn't touch the bat.
Yeah.
So
I just wondered what the thought process was, because it was a very close play at first. Doug, my photographer, got a photo of it. Like the player's hand was just like off the bag by that, just fingertips right. So it was she was out, but it was a close play. So it's like, there you go.
Right. I mean, the thing with a bang bang play or a close play is someone's going to be mad no matter what the call is. So,
all right.
But I was fine with it. But it was a big win for Marysville. And now Colfax, this is a real kicker. Colfax is looking at the top seed in Division 5. Now they split the league title. I guess the PVL had a rule for, if we have a split title for who gets the higher seed, and it was a coin flip. And Sutter won the coin toss. So Sutter is the top seed in D5. Colfax is the 2 seed. That being said, when it's deciding the 1 and the 2 seed, you're kind of deciding that if you meet in the championship, who gets to wear their white jerseys. It's not, it's not, I mean, you both have to get there, but it's not like it's deciding between the 4 and the 5 seed and it's who gets the home game. It's, so I guess kind of an inconsequential coin toss, but, in a way, I think this was the best thing that could happen to Colfax, because they've been mowing through the PVL. And I think they almost needed a team to kind of challenge them a little bit, or to kind of get punched in the mouth so that they can respond to that adversity. And even though they didn't come back on top, when they give up 4 runs on the second, they respond with a 4 spot of their own. When they fall down 7-5 and they have the tying run 90 feet from base or from home both times, and they have timely hitting, you prove that you can hit in clutch situations and you can, make plays in clutch situations. And I mean, in a weird way, like, yeah, it comes down as a loss, but in baseball, I mean, Colfax is what, 21-4 right now. And I'm like, if you're winning 21 out of 25 games, you're a pretty good baseball team. So you can't really hang your head on one loss like that. But that's going to be a big one. That kind of brings me to my athlete of the week this week. Marcus Mader for Colfax. He pitched 2 no-hitters in a row. So he pitched the no-hitter against Wheatland last week in a 12-1 win. He then no-hit Marysville on Tuesday in a 3-0 win. So he's pitched 2 no-hitters in a row, and he had the 2-run homer in the game against Marysville on Thursday in that rain, which, I mean, Lord knows how far that ball carries if there's a little bit of heat in Colfax, because 40 degrees and rainy, the fact that anything left the yard, I was impressed with, let alone 2. So good job by Marcus Mader. I got to give him a shout out for my athlete of the week. Aaron, throwing it over to you. What were some of the best performances you saw?
Yeah, before I get into that, I just want to say, because I know you mentioned, Placer's boys golf team winning, and congrats to them. I've known Coach French for a while. He was the coach of Placer, and I played at Lincoln. I just got to say, hey, Coach, we still have that blue banner in the gym from 2016. But getting into athletes of the week for the Lincoln area, 12 Bridges boys track and field team, I believe, are the first varsity boys team at 12 Bridges High to win a league title. And Aaron Oriole Jr. helped lead the way. He won 4 events at league championships: the 100 meters, the 200 meters. Got a personal record in that event. Helped lead the 4x100 relay team to success, and also won the long jump. So congrats to him. Great performance. A lot of solid performances in track and field in the area. Whitney's boys and girls varsity teams both won the SFL title, while Wood Creek's boys and girls teams both won the CVC title. And then Western Sierra's boys varsity team also won league championships. So just a lot of great stuff going on with track and field in the area as they head into divisionals this week. For the South Placer area, though, I'm going with sophomore Jada Duncan of Whitney High Swim. She won section titles in both the 50-yard freestyle and the 100-yard butterfly. Very impressive as just a sophomore. She's actually going to be missing state championships this week, because she's going to instead be swimming down in Mission Viejo for Olympic trials. So congratulations to her. Big things going on there. I know Granite Bay, I believe their varsity boys and girls swim teams both came 3rd at sections, and I'll see what they can do obviously at state this week as well. But yeah, those are some of my athletes of the week.
All right, Matt, how about you? What was some of the best performances you saw?
Yeah, I went Folsom High volleyball. Everyone knows Burke Ubag is Folsom's best player, but you need more than one guy, and Folsom's got another guy, Jack DeGraff. He's Folsom's number 2 offensive threat after Ubag, who is primarily their setter, but he also hits. DeGraff is a reliable go-to guy who gets the job done and has the Bulldogs in the semifinals versus Whitney. And as we talked about earlier, that match can go either way. So Jack DeGraff is my athlete of the week.
All right, I like it. And it's a big week now. We got some baseball playoffs going on. We got some, softball races slowing down. I know for me, a couple of the games I'll be at this week. Tonight I'll be at Rockland and Del Oro softball in a big SFL battle. Then tomorrow night I'll be hitting a 2-fer. I'll do Placer tennis in the D3 or D4 semifinals at 4:00. And then I'm going to hit about 30, 45 minutes of that, and I'm going to head up to Forest Hill for the D7 girls soccer section championship. First time Forest Hills made it that far. So shout out to the Wildfires as they chased their first team section championship in school history. So hopefully they can close that out. They're hosting, so hey, big things coming there. And then Wednesday,
Jordan, did that game get moved? Because I thought I'm sorry for interrupting, but I thought I saw on the section Instagram that the game was today. Did that get moved to tomorrow?
Yeah, it got moved to tomorrow.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure.
So yeah, because it was today going in, then right before we recorded, I saw that they moved it to tomorrow. And then I'll be on Wednesday, I'll be at I'll be at Colfax and West Campus baseball for the opening round of the playoffs. That's a 2 seed versus a 7 seed. I expect the Falcons to do pretty well in this, but what I think is going to be interesting is you're a 2 seed playing a 7 seed, so you should win that one pretty handily. Do you throw your ace in that game? That's, the interesting question. Because Colfax's number 2 is a pretty solid pitcher. So do you save your ace so you can use him Monday and Friday when you get into the 2 out of 3 series? That, especially a guy like Mater who's thrown 2 no-hitters in a row. I mean, you almost might want the 2 starts if you can, but just something to I'm interested to see what Colfax
Hey,
tries out there.
I know last year, I don't know who the number 1 seed was in Division One or
Wood Creek.
Division 2. Yeah, I think it might have been Wood Creek. I don't know, one of these teams, they saved their number 1 guy and they lost in the first round. So it's like
right, and that's what's tough. And if they're playing Wednesday and the next round starts Monday, you could conceivably still get them, I guess, for 2 starts, but in the second round. But I'm kind of with you. It's going to be an interesting chess game. And speaking of interesting chess games, again, on Thursday, I'll be at Placer's first round baseball matchup. They got the 3 seed. They're likely going to be playing number 6 Calaveras, but unless number 11 Venture Academy can come up with an upset, that's going to be an interesting one too, because Calaveras, I imagine, is throwing your ace against Venture Academy, which means now your number 2 is going up against Placer's ace. So it's going to be interesting to see how Calaveras kind of navigates that. I talked to the sports writer for their paper, and he told me that they're very aggressive on the base pass. They like to run. So I think that's going to be a fun game. And, because Calaveras has that characteristic, if they can get a team like Placer flustered, it could end up being an upset there. So I'm interested to see how that one plays out. Aaron, what about you? Where are you going to be this week?
Yep. So starting tomorrow, I'll be at a couple things at Lincoln. I went back and forth between what baseball game I was going to be covering in the first round, but I've never gotten a chance to announce a playoff baseball game. So before I announce East Union and Lincoln baseball, I will be at Lincoln because Lincoln High is actually hosting the Division III track and field trials and finals this week. So I'm going to go there on Tuesday to watch Lincoln, Oakmont, West Park, Placer, a couple other teams I'm sure there as well. So I'll be there, and then I'm just gonna basically probably ride my bike over to the baseball diamond because parking is going to be a nightmare there tomorrow. And I'll see how Lincoln does against East Union. And if Lincoln, who's the 5 seed, wins that game, they'll most likely be playing Pioneer and Woodland on Thursday, which will be an interesting game. So looking forward to seeing what they can do this week. Wednesday, I'm not going to be hitting anything. Thursday, I'll either be covering a second round playoff game for high school baseball, or I will be at Sierra College's baseball against either Sac City or Modesto for their second round, with their hopes of making, I believe, super regionals or the third round, whatever they call it in college. So I'll be at one of those on Thursday. So stay tuned to figure out where I go. Friday, my plan as of right now is to go to Sierra softball against Cosumnes River at 2:00. Hit roughly 3, maybe 4 innings of that game, and then drive back to town and catch Lincoln Elk Grove softball for their final regular season game for Lincoln. Lincoln's not a lock yet. I was actually just taking a look at softball playoff projections that were released by Sac-Joaquin Section Max Preps. Provided Lincoln finishes top 3 in league, they will be a playoff team. They're actually projected right now as the 14 seed in D3 playing Vista. So that would be a pretty fun first round matchup there. There's a few other crazy things going on with softball. Granite Bay beat Whitney on their senior night last week. So Whitney is actually now dropped out of the solo first place spot in the SFL. And I believe Granite Bay has that now, which means they would move to Division I and Whitney would stay in Division II, which means we could have a Whitney Del Oro semifinal game in the section for D2. So a lot of interesting things going on with softball right now. But then on Saturday, I'm actually going to be all day from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. at Jessup because I'm going to be announcing the section championships for boys volleyball, which will actually be a really fun experience. And I may have a couple of teams that will be making it there because I've still got, Whitney, as Matt mentioned earlier, they're playing Folsom on Tuesday. I've got Granite Bay playing in Division II. They have to beat Antelope. Antelope's a really good team. We could have an Antelope Wood Creek finals in Division II, which would be a CVC rematch. And I think the team split this year, so that'd be really good. West Park is the 3 seed in Division III. They're playing Merced tomorrow night. So if they can beat them, they'll be in the section championship. So a lot of local teams might make it, and I'll be announcing those games all day.
All right. I like it. Matt, how about you? Where are you going to be?
Aaron told me that Vista has a tennis match today, and I will be at that. at 4 p.m. against Christian Brothers in the semifinals of the Division III tennis. Tomorrow, I'd like to go. I mean, I kind of like to go see the lacrosse semifinals down at the De La Salle. That'd be kind of fun. But I think Oak Ridge baseball at home would probably be a better option just because it's closer. Thursday again, Oak Ridge lacrosse. If they win Tuesday, will be in the finals of the North Coast Championship. That's a long drive, but it's a game I'd like to see. But I don't know what I'm going to go to, whether it be local or something local or that. And Friday, Division I track finals at Folsom High. I'll be catching that. So.
All right. And kind of speaking of that, I guess that segues us into the playoff brackets. I mean, that Oak Ridge game, it's going to be an interesting one against Turlock because that could set up an Oak Ridge Franklin second round matchup. And I think that's, like you said, Oak Ridge is, I think they should be higher than Nate Seed, but I also, look and I'm like, can you put them higher than Davis or Vacaville? And that's where you get the tough spot. But I mean, goes to show how deep that D1 field is. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if Oak Ridge ends up in the semifinals. So,
well, I mean, they
another program.
They beat Franklin before you said it, so they could. It's like nobody wants to play Franklin. I mean, I don't think anyone wants to play Franklin in the second round. I don't think anyone's going to play Franklin in the first round. But someone's got to do it, and why not a team that knows they can win? I mean, I haven't talked to Melton about it yet, but he's probably feels the same way. He probably feels, yeah, I'd rather not play him in the second round, but hey, we beat him. So
right. I'm sure Franklin's not overly thrilled about a team they lost 9-1 to, potentially being their second round matchup.
Yeah, that's a good point as well. You could put it on Franklin, yeah. So I didn't look to see who Oak Ridge, they're seeded 8th. They should be ahead of the 5th seed. I don't know. I just know that they play a tough schedule. They finished one game behind Whitney. I just figured it sounded better than 8th seed, but maybe it's not better than 8th seed. Maybe it's the best they got. So
I mean, I'm with you. It's a tough draw to make these seedings. I don't know if you kind of have a prediction. To me, I think I'm gonna say all SFL title. Give me Oak Ridge and Whitney for the section championship.
It'd be a rematch of the semis last year.
All right, I like it. Is that what your guess is too, Aaron?
I think that Oak Ridge Franklin game is going to be really good. I think it can go either way because it's a 1-game series. I think if it was a 3-game series, I would actually probably pick Oak Ridge in that. But I'm actually going to go with Franklin winning that narrowly. I'm going to go with the 1 and a 2 seed. I'm going to go Whitney Franklin, and I have nothing to base this off of other than experience because Franklin beat Whitney earlier this year, even though it was the 3rd game of the season. I also think when you go through the SFL, that makes you a much stronger team, because obviously you have to face some of the top teams in the section. But because of experience of the run that they made last year and having a lot of those guys, I'm going to go with Whitney beating out Franklin. Fun fact, I don't think I mentioned this on the show yet. I might have mentioned it last week. If I did, my apologies. But Whitney, a lot of their baseball teams actually built of guys who were on the Tri-City Little League team who made a big run all the way to the West Regional Finals in 2018. So just a fun fact there. So not only do they have the experience from last year, they have an experience for making runs deep in the playoffs in Little League. So I'm going to go with Whitney winning a second straight section title.
So a 1 versus a 2 seed. Aaron, when you pick your March Madness bracket, do you just have 4 1 seeds?
No, I don't, because I've done that before, and I've
Aaron?
taken major L's. And this year, if I did that, I would have taken major L's. So no, I do not. No, that's a little different. But
all right, Matt, what about you? What do you think, or who do you think are going to be the final 2 teams in this bracket?
Oh God, I don't know. I mean, you like to say. I mean, when you get to this point, you like to see teams you cover. I mean, I'd like to see. I mean, teams I don't cover. I don't cover Whitney, but I mean, they're a nice group to follow. And then when they played Oak Ridge last week, I mean, I'll say Oak Ridge Whitney. That'd be fun to see.
I'd like to see that too. That'd be a really fun game to watch.
I like that. And kind of moving on to D2, the top part of the bracket, we don't really have a dog in the fight there. It's mostly Southern schools. But outside of Rio and Cordova, bottom half of the bracket, I mean, look at some of these potential matchups in the bottom half of the bracket. You can get Wood Creek Jesuit in the semis, and honestly, I'd take Granite Bay over El Capitan and that. I'm gonna guess in D2. I'm gonna say, maybe unpopular, but I've seen them play. They're hot right now. I'm going to say Granite Bay against Rio Americano. I'm going to give Rio the nod in that, but I think Granite Bay can go on a run here.
So I've got Pittman and Rio going 3 games. I've got Wood Creek Granite Bay going 3 games. I think we're going to have 2 really good semifinal matchups. I'm going to go Wood Creek winning in 3, but I would not be surprised in the slightest if Granite Bay made it back to the section championship. I'm going to have Pittman beating Rio in 3, but I think that could go either way as well. So I'm taking the other 2 teams. I'm going Pittman and Wood Creek with Wood Creek winning. I think that they, like I said, I think they're hungry of the experience of, knowing what the defeat felt like last year in the playoffs and knowing now what it takes to actually get the job done in the postseason. I think they're going to be a lot more hungry. But yeah, I mean, it could go either way. And I think that if it's Wood Creek Granite Bay, that's, Wood Creek used to be, I believe, an SFL team. So you have, an old SFL rivalry there. And it's going to be a heck of a crosstown series. So I'll be rooting for that. And I think that Pittman and Rio would be a really good series too.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Matt, you want to make a prediction on D2 or?
Well, I don't have it in front of me, but I like the 2 teams you said, Granite Bay and Rio. So
All right, I like it. D3, moving on. This is another one that, I think this is that Ponderosa Lincoln potential semifinal is going to be huge. I do think this is Ponderosa's bracket to lose. I think Central Catholic can be scary. I think Roseville can be scary. That Vista Vanden matchup is going to be fun. I'd love to get a Vista Christian Brothers semifinal. This one, I am going to go a little chalky. I'm sorry. I'm going Pondo Christian Brothers, which is probably the last thing Vista fans want to hear. An old rival and a new rival squaring up in the championship, but I got to give it to Pondo. I think they've been really hot right now, and I think the FEL is a better league than people are giving it credit for, and it's going to show these playoffs.
Well, I've got the exact same thing as you, but I do agree. I think I will say this. I think D3 is it's funny. I'll say this. I think D3 is the most wide open bracket, and I'm picking the top 2 seeds. But I will, I will say, I do think that Pondo and Lincoln will be in the semis. I think Lincoln's going to upset Pioneer on the road, and man, that is a series that could go either way. I've talked to Coach Allen, and he felt like they could have swept Pondo. I mean, that series could have gone either way, and Lincoln won the first game, lost the next 2. So that series could go either way. I just am going to pick Pondo in 3. I think that they're just a little bit better of a team. Roseville Central Catholic, I think, will be a good second round matchup. I think Central Catholic will edge them out. Again, a lot of people don't factor in, how difficult it is to travel 2.5, 3 hours in a bus down and go play a playoff game. What that can do mentally for you, what that could do, just how difficult that is to kind of go on the road and win that far away. I just think Central Catholic is going to get that done. I do think Vista will upset Vanden. I've got Vista Christian Brothers. I think Christian Brothers will win that. So yeah, I'm going to go Pondo Christian Brothers as well, with Pondo winning, but I think it's a wide open bracket.
Matt, what about you?
I'm going to say Pondo over Central Catholic.
All right, I like that. Yeah, that one's full of teams. That's the first one where I'm like, hey, I've seen a lot of those teams play. Division 4, though, moving down to that's an interesting bracket to me too. Woodland, I saw them play. Woodland is a good team. I genuinely can say though that I think the 2 and the 3 seed are better teams than Woodland is. But they didn't have the records to show being a 1 seed. That being said, the FEL is a lot tougher of a baseball league than GEL. Wheatland's a team that can, be pretty solid. Casa Roble, they did beat Placer 16-4 earlier in the year. That wasn't against all of Placer's starters, but they hold a win over one of the top 3 seeds, so that's a big one. Calaveras was in the section title last year, so was Marysville. Galt made a deep run. I gotta say in this one though, I'm gonna say I'll go Casa Roble and Placer for the championship, actually. And the reason I'm picking Placer over Oakmont is I said how evenly matched the FEL is, and I think Placer and Oakmont are 2 teams that if they played 10 times, they'd go 5-5. Oakmont took 2 out of 3 in the regular season, so I'm going to say Placer is going to win it in 3 in the postseason. They're going to finish the season 3-3 against one another. But that's the only reason I got to go with that is they're so evenly matched. I've got to say the opposite of who won the season series is going to win the playoff series. And I'll say Placer over Casa in that.
So I will take the opposite two teams. I do think that Woodland and Casa will be in the semis. I'm going to say Woodland does manage to win that one in 3 games. Placer Oakmont, man, this is going to be an amazing series. It could go either way. They just played each other. I'm going to say Oakmont wins it in 3. I originally, my predictions put Placer. Originally, I put Placer, but I'm going to go, I'm going to go with Oakmont in 3. I'm going to say Woodland and Oakmont. I actually do think Woodland is a little bit of a better team. I'm going to go Woodland over Oakmont in the championship. That's what I'm going to go with.
All right, I like it. And in fairness to Woodland, I will give them this. When I saw them play, it was like their second or third game of the season. Obviously, a lot has changed. I just look at that schedule though, and I'm like, you've played some
It's a weak
decent
strength of
teams,
schedule.
but you haven't played anyone that good. And I just, I don't know what's going to happen when you run into either Placer or Oakmont, or Marysville's a team that's absolutely capable of making a little bit of a run, and I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest to see Marysville end up in the section title too.
Like that's another wide open bracket, really talented small school bracket for sure.
Matt, what about you?
Oh, I didn't even look at the other brackets.
All right, that means Matt agrees with me, I think. So anyway, over to D5.
I have nothing for D5. I've got no team.
I'll run through it. It looks like Houston is solid, Bradshaw Christian is solid. I would be very surprised if this championship is anything other than Sutter Colfax. By far the 2 best teams in this bracket, in my opinion. Bradshaw Christian and Houston, both good teams, and they could definitely make this run. I think Sutter and Colfax, I think you could call it a pretty significant upset if it's not Sutter against Colfax in the second.
Are they 1-2?
What was that?
Yeah.
Are they
1-2. Yep. And that's only an 18 bracket too. So whoever wins on Wednesday is already going to the best of 3 next week. Division 6, I don't really have anyone in it. So
I'll go. I've got Western Sierra.
Western Sierra.
But I mean, to be fair, I actually haven't been able to see Wisca play this year. I've seen. I've been paying close attention to Leroy Green. They've been ranked top 25 a couple different times during the season in the section. They have some kids from Alpha Charter, which closed down last year. And Alpha Charter, I believe, won a section title last year. They
NorCal title.
Yeah, that's right. They did. Yeah. Leroy Green beat Valley Christian last week to win the SMAL. I'm going to go with them, Leroy Green over Vacaville Christian. So I'll go with that for the championship in B6.
All right. I like it. And then Division 7, I think I can speak for all of us and just completely unbiased when I say we're clearly going to get Forest Hill and Golden Sierra, the 8 versus the 7 in the championship. Forest Hill wins 2-1 in a 15-inning thriller in the championship. I can't see any other way this bracket plays out.
That'd be cool, but no.
That would be very cool.
I'm going to go Turlock Christian over Woodland Christian. Turlock Christian's pitching staff is insane. I forget, I think it's Gavin Farinha, if I'm pronouncing that right. He has one of the top ERAs in the section. I think he was like almost a 0 ERA last year and actually beat Valley Christian 1-0 in the section championship. I'm going to go Turlock Christian over Woodland Christian. I do think Valley Christian will win the first round game, but I don't think they're going to beat Turlock Christian. I'm going to go Turlock Christian, repeating, going back to back.
All right, Matt, how about you? I assume you're backing my Forest Hill Golden Sierra prediction.
Yeah, I like that one.
Thank you, Matt. Glad to see that some logic has prevailed.
Wait, so does is it Forest Hill matches up against Turlock Christian, or is
they're
it
going down to Turlock Christian on Wednesday night? And as much as I want to give them their support in the playoffs, I got to give Colfax that support. I don't know if I want to drive down to Turlock.
I'll put the over under for, and this is no disrespect to Forest Hill, because I mean, obviously you make the playoffs, that's great, but Turlock Christian, like I said, incredible pitching staff. I will put the over under at 3.5 hits. I'm not even going to put runs. I'm going to say 3.5 hits. If they manage to pull off 4 hits, that is a success, I think, right there.
I definitely think, I'm assuming you're saying Turlock Christian getting 3.5 hits. I'll say the final score of Forest Hill, I'll say 31 to -3. So I'm going full Bill Swirsky here. But hey, that's going to just about do it for this week's episode of the Sports Jam. Before we get going, does anyone have anything we want to add?
Another busy week, and looking forward to seeing, how everything turns out.
All right, Matt, how about you?
Hey, I just want to say, it's a job well done and a day well earned. Aaron's mom's birthday.
Yes, sir. Happy birthday to Aaron's mom. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week.